Welcome to Bluff Creek Podcast Radio. I am Daniel.
I'm Megan.
And today's special guest is
Christine Ruth.
Thank you for joining us today. Where are some of the places that you've traveled to?
Well, I started traveling early. When I was in high school, I got the opportunity to go, when I was 16 years old, to be a student, an AFS student in France. So I got to spend a year in France my sophomore year of high school, and it was awesome. So I got to live with a family who were partially the owners of Swatch, and so they had an incredible home, and then another home in the Alps, and then another vacation home, and so we got to travel all over Switzerland and Austria and France. And what was interesting about my host family there is that my host father spoke German and my host mother spoke French, and they both spoke both German, French, and English, and they would switch languages in between, not even knowing it. So they would start saying something to me in French, and then they would switch to German, and they wouldn't even realize they did it. So I would get really, really confused about what they were saying, but it was really cool. So I learned how to speak French that year. And then when I was in college, I got to spend my junior year at Luther College in England. And I was telling you guys that I got to travel all over England and Scotland and Ireland and Wales. And that was awesome. And one thing that is cool when you live in England for a year, you can get something called a Eurail pass or an Interrail pass, and it's really cheap. So then on spring break, I went to Italy, and I went to Portugal and Spain, and I got to go to France a few times again, and then went all the way over to Poland. And so that was really interesting because I got to go visit some concentration camps. Have you guys learned about the Holocaust yet?
My sister had learned about that, so she had to watch a movie, and I watched it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, so you've learned quite a bit about it. So that was really sad to go to some of the concentration camps. That I went to Dachau in Germany, and there's several in Poland. But Auschwitz is one of the bigger ones, and those were really meaningful places to travel. So I did that, and then when I was in seminary studying to be a pastor, I took 1 year off and went to Africa, and that's when I lived for a year in Ivory Coast and Liberia, and Africa was my favorite place to live of all those places because it was the coolest place I've ever lived. So my husband and I have gone back there several times, and we're hoping that we can bring Addie and Cullen back to Africa sometime so they can experience it. So I don't know when we'll be able to afford the plane tickets. They're kind of expensive. So we'll see. So.
Can you tell us a little bit about your starter adventure?
I have two kind of jobs. My first job is that I'm a pastor at a Lutheran church, and so I work with a team of pastors. There's 5 pastors, and I'm the only woman, so that's kind of interesting. And I visit hospitals, I visit prisons, I do a lot of teaching, and then I preach about once a month. And mainly I get to just run a lot of classes, so that's fun. And then my other job is that I'm a marriage and family therapist, so I help couples or families when they're having hard times. Maybe learn to get along better, or learn to communicate better, or just deal with whatever they might be struggling with, like depression or anxiety or any of those sorts of things. So those are my 2 different jobs.
Can you tell us about your family?
Sure. My family is Addie, who is 11 years old in your grade. And then I have Kellen, who is 12 years old at Chaska Middle School. Then I have my husband, Greg, and my husband, Greg, is a general surgeon, and he loves to take out tumors, and he loves to cut things off of people, and he loves to tell really disgusting stories at dinner. So we'll just be sitting there, and then he'll start telling me about cutting off someone's tumor and how much pus there was, and sometimes it makes me want to throw up. And I say, do we need to talk about this at dinner? But for him, that's one of his favorite things to do. So he loves operating on people, and that's my husband.
What do you do during your free time?
Let's see. Well, I think my favorite things to do in my free time are maybe to go to the gym and work out. I enjoy doing that. I especially like Zumba, which is kind of Latin dancing, and I love hip hop, but I'm terrible at it, but I still like to do it. And I'm not very good in my workout classes, but I try the best that I can. And I love to canoe and go to the Boundary Waters. I love to travel. I love to read. I'm always reading books, so usually I have like 3 or 4 books going at the same time that are all totally different books, and I'm in a book club. So I'm a big fan of reading. How about you guys? Do you like reading?
Yeah.
Kind of?
Yeah.
What's your favorite genre of book? Fiction? Yeah.
It's probably like historical.
Yeah, like historical fiction? Yeah. Cool. I love historical fiction too. I really like sci-fi. So I like fantasy. So like I love the Harry Potter books. And we just got back from Universal Studios, and we went to Harry Potter World, and that was one of the coolest trips that I've ever taken. I really, really loved it. Have you guys read Harry Potter at all? No, not Harry Potter. That's okay. They're kind of long books.
Yeah.
Kind of daunting to start reading one of those books.
Yeah. Where did you go to school?
Well, I grew up in Marshfield, Wisconsin, which is a small town about 3 hours east of here. So my grandparents were dairy farmers from Wisconsin, and they went to UW-Madison. And they love to eat sausage and drink beer and go to Packer games and Brewer games. So that's kind of how my childhood was going to a lot of Brewers games and a lot of Packers games. And I moved from Marshfield when I went to school at Luther College in Iowa, and then moved to Minnesota for seminary, where I met my husband.
What's your favorite color?
That's a hard one. I kind of changed my favorite color, but I'm really a big fan of turquoise blue, and I love magenta, like really, really bright pinks. So I wear that color quite a bit. How about you guys? Do you have favorite colors? Good one.
Turquoise maybe or blue?
Yeah, that's a cool one. Those are good colors.
What like college did you go to?
I went to Luther College, and I was sharing before how it took me a long time to pick the college that I went to, because I didn't know where to go, and I was really nervous about it. And I traveled on the East Coast and on the West Coast and in the Midwest, and finally picked Luther because it was so beautiful there. It was really, I thought Iowa was going to be full of pigs, and it was just going to be flat, but it's actually very pretty, at least in that part of Iowa, by the river, etc. So
much for joining us today. Today's podcast was brought to you by Free Podcast Radio, encouraging you to connect with someone new today.